going to go through some sort of a presentation. At some point in time, they're going to want to know what the value is. So we're popping into the center of the conversation. Here we go. The thing that we teach is to be good at anything, what you want to do is share what you know and don't share what you don't know. Fair? So we know three things. A professional always knows, has the availability to know three things. Number one, what's happened in the past. Yes, you have to be a student, but when we go in there to meet with a seller and you're going to do a CMA, you're going to have past transactions, past data points. We don't call them comps in front of a seller, but you're going to know the past. So you're going to be able to show them the past. That is 100% knowable. Number two, you will also want to know the present, which is going to be actives. And it's not just actives, it's actives. How long has it been on the market? Maybe how many repositionings. Now, when I would be talking to a seller about another listing, I'm not going to be saying position. I'm going to say they've had to lower their price a couple different times. When I'm talking about the seller as my patient, it's positioning. So you should know that. And of course, you should know the trends. Gary Keller says we should be the local economist of choice. And then when you're going into a conversation with a buyer seller, this is where you want to stop playing Call of Duty and listen up, you guys. At some point early in your conversation, you're going to want to ask them what they think the market's doing, rather than going in there and just telling. I mean, we don't want to go to tell. That's a bad word. So don't go to tell. Now, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, all right, so I'm going to go through the quote market analysis, the positioning conversation, and I'm going to say homes in your area have basically been like from 550 to 600-ish. And you can have the pictures and you can show them and you let them drive the computer and all that stuff. That's knowable. So as you can see here, the range, the market range of home selling vary between 550 and 600. There's no pronoun, there's no I. Based on that, where would you like to position your home?
Well, Denny, I'd like to get the most. So how about if we go for 600?
Oh my gosh. I've never had a seller say that. They might say 1.6 million. But if they say 600, okay, that's fine. It doesn't, so let's just roll with that.
Okay. Or 625. Let's ask 625 so we have room to come down.
All right. So you're smoking sweet and low. That's good. No matter what the seller says, here's how I teach it. So then if we start initially at 625, are you ready to move forward with me today?
Yeah, you're the big guy in town, of course.
Now what this is important. You guys know this. How many times have you in the past where agents get into some major discussions about pricing, positioning, and yet why okay, well, good. Thanks so much. No, here's the other thing. I don't think you have any experience. I don't think this. They keep going on with issues that why they're not going to hire you. Listen, that is the plug in the boat. I don't get into conversations about positioning unless, so if you would have said no, there's other things. I said, okay, good. We'll table this. Let's go talk about the other things. Now, then I'm going to say, all right, knuckle bump. You know my knuckle bump. At that point in time, I have at least an understanding, a gentleman's understanding that we're going to work together. True?
Absolutely.
Now, so do you mind, now that we're going to work together, do you mind if I share with you what's going to happen next? I mean, what person in the world does not want to know what's going to happen next? So I'm going to have the conversation. So remember, I said 550, 600. He said 625. That's not that far out of the range, right? What if he had said 650? Okay, so if we start there originally 650, are you agreeing to work together? 7, 8. I mean, there will be a point where I'll cry uncle, but here's my point. And I'll ask you this, Barry. Let's say you want 625 and there's nothing in the past data that shows 625, and the market in Florida, there's downward pressure. Can you say as an agent there's zero chance that seller can get 625?
No, there's always a lightning strike you can't predict.
Absolutely. So why do we get into the tug of war with a seller and have this long discussion and argue them and leverage them back against their will, kicking and screaming to a number below that? If they're going to work with you, they can't get mad at you if you've done it right, because you've kept your fingerprints off the number. That is the art of this conversation. There's no saying, well, based on this, I feel this is what the range is. Pronouns may work in other industries, but not in this conversation. They do not work.
So if, let's say we went on at 625, I was hoping to get full price because my neighbor did, and they didn't have the same crossbreeds that I have. So for the price reduction, you're circling back to the fishing slide.
Outcome one is low to no showings. Outcome two is showings and no offers, or maybe a low offer. Outcome number three is that doesn't sell. So then here's the mistake. New agents, here's the magic. Set up a follow-up appointment every week, every other week, however they want it. Some people may want it more than that, but you don't have to do it more often than every week or every 2 weeks. And you're going to go through the 3 M's. Who knows the 3 M's? I have it behind me. You're going to send them, notice that fishing form, there's a place for them to initial that. Now, I don't know about you, Matt, sellers in this neck of the woods have amnesia. You'll go over that, but if you don't remind them of it consistently, showings basically, if there's a, I just watched this, I'm going to give you something fun. Somebody turned me on to this series on Paramount or Amazon called Landman. I don't know if anybody has ever seen it. It's an amazing series. But if you're drilling for oil, you guys, they tell me that as you drill for oil, the first thing you're going to run into is natural gas. And then that's a precursor to the oil. Showings are a precursor to a home selling. Would you not agree? So, yeah. All right. So then you're going to set up. So it's been, so week one, this is the format, you guys. All right. So Barry, it's been a week. Now, not much is going to happen in a week, really. I mean, not much. I haven't found many sellers that are really ready to capitulate, but we're developing seller muscle memory. All right. So Barry, I sent you over some stuff. We had a standing appointment on 4 o'clock on Friday or Monday, whatever it happens to be. And I'm always going to cover the same 3 things. Number one, I'm going to talk about a market update. So you're going to talk about the neighborhood stuff. What's changed? What about the house with the green shutters? How about the one with the bird bath that just went pending? So here's the other thing that is really cool about this. I have found, and I've been in this position, that sometimes you don't know you don't seemingly have anything to share. Particularly, you have to call them every week. I'm giving you stuff to share with them because you're not going to make a call and it's not going to be successful if the only reason you call them is you ask for a price reduction. They just won't pick up anymore. So you're going to share market update. Got that? Now y'all can do that. What do you share? Well, what's happened? What's new? That's past, present, and you're going to reinforce it. Number 2, you're going to share a marketing update. The big difference here is that you're not going to say, well, it's an MLS and I sent it out to my 15 best besties out there. No. That's not going to cut it. You have to look at the analytics and say, what's gone on? How has it impacted the cyberspace? Well, hey, all right. So Barry, just in the last week, 1 week, we've had, it came up in 45 or 145 searches. 13 people clicked on it and two people took the virtual tour. Now it sounds like you are doing what?
Marketing the home.
The property. Right? So you can see the marketing's working, and the 3rd M is to make a decision. And by the way, you can ask them. I mean, you should know how many showings. We didn't talk about showings. I'm just assuming we didn't have any showings the first week. It's a rinse and repeat, Barry, every week on that. Let's go to the 4th week really fast, and I'll put a bow in it. It's been 4 weeks. We've had, by now, you know the drill. 4 weeks, we've had 2 showings. Here's the key, guys. Here is the key. What outcome are we at? Do not tell them what outcome it is, because your opinion is not as important as their perception. 2 showings in 1 month. What outcome? It's not 3. They'll say, well, it doesn't matter what they say. Well, it probably sounds like maybe 1.5. Okay. What's the remedy? See? It's positioning.
repositioning the price. So if they're saying, well, we haven't had enough showings, you're just going to point back to the fishing slide.
Yes, and the reason, and here's the brilliance, whether or not you use a fishing form or not, here's the brilliance of how they measure the success of your marketing or their chances of selling. If you have the conversation with them up front about showings or the precursors to a sale, and you can't have showings unless you're positioned right, that eliminates the conversation in 3 weeks or so where they say, you're my agent now, I'm the seller. Barry, we've been on the market 3 weeks and now you're talking about repositioning. How do you know we're overpriced? You haven't brought anybody to see it. If you had a retail store and people were looking into your shop and they were looking, but they weren't coming in to try it on, what would you do if you owned the shop? Well, or if people were coming in and picking up the blazer and putting it back down, and then you'd probably want to say, well, certainly not the mall's fault. People are looking, they're looking in the window, they're coming in, but they're not buying it. You might want to put it on sale. So I think we have showing time or centralized showing or something like that, where, we make appointments, and when the property is shown by the agent, the automatic feedback form is emailed out to the agent or whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Those programs will allow you to customize the questions. Don't take the questions that come standard out of the box, because one of the questions that is most popular, that's heavily used, and maybe by many of you, you'll ask the other agent what they think about the price. I would, before you pass go, before you collect $200, take that off that form. It is danger. It will not help you. It will hurt you more than help you. You want to know why? Number one, you're getting an agent that doesn't know the market. Of the 3 people involved in the purchase of a home, the agent, the buyer, and seller, guess who knows the market the best? And it's not the agent.
The buyer?
The buyer does. Now, I'm not saying 100% of the time, but I promise you the buyers look at more homes in their price range than you look at. And they have a sense of it. So if you ask them what the agent thinks about the price, and you have a new agent or agents that keep saying, well, I think it's priced right. That's like bringing in a bunch of people that say, look, my freezer does not make ice. It hasn't made ice since 1908. And when you bring in a series of appliance people to look at it and say, I want you to tell me what's wrong with it. Well, I think it works fine, but it doesn't make ice. You don't need the agents to tell you if the market's going to accept it or not. Why? Because the market only knows one word, gang, and that's no. It acts on yes. Matt said it great. But all these buyers have said no. What other feedback is important? So number one, they're going to give you feedback, and now you've just identified the next listing agent, or you have created a hedge between you and the next repositioning. Well, this other agent said it was priced right. So maybe they just like my home better. Maybe they're just more optimistic than you are.
Are you just, let's say we're early in the listing, are you just briefly touching on the make a decision thing, just assuming they're not want to? Are you looking at how long it takes pendings to go under before you encourage them to make a decision?
Here's the deal. I'm agnostic. I'm training them. These are memory pegs for the discussion. It's been on the market a week. So our decision is, okay, it's been a week. However, as things move on, based on your timeline, you needed to get to Sandusky, Ohio before the end of August. We may have to start evaluating whether or not we have to make a decision. One thing I want to share with everybody, particularly, I want you to watch your market. The worst thing that can happen to a seller that has unrealistic expectations in a falling market is that somebody gets more realistic in prices below them. And they could have sold it for this today, although they don't like that number, because they could have sold it for that like 18 months ago. But every day they wait, their home is worth less. That make a decision discussion has to happen. But again, I'm never pushing for them to do that, guys. That's important. I'm not pushing. I'm the doctor saying the medicine's not working. Do you want to change the prescriptions to get rid of the rash? We don't list property, we list property owners.